Let's get right into it. Number 10. Peeling a banana. You've been peeling bananas wrong your whole life. Most people grab the stem and yank. Sometimes it works. Sometimes the stem just bends, and you're left wrestling with a piece of fruit. The secret? Do it like the monkeys do. Flip the banana upside down and pinch the little black tip at the bottom. It splits open cleanly every single time. No fighting, no bruising, no drama. When you peel from the stem, you squeeze the softest part of the banana. That's where the bruising happens. The part you always peel back and quietly judge before eating anyway. Pinching from the bottom solves this. The peel splits into 2 clean strips, and the banana comes out perfect. There's also a bonus. The little stringy bits, the phloem bundles, mostly come off with the peel when you open it from the bottom. They're harmless, but nobody likes them. The stem isn't the handle. It just looks like one. We all assumed, and we were all wrong. Number 9. Cleaning a room. Most people clean a room the same way. They start on the floor, sweep it, mop it, get it looking perfect. Then they stand up and start wiping down the shelves. A little cloud of dust floats off the shelf and lands right on the clean floor. The floor you just spent 20 minutes on. It's like washing your car, then immediately driving it through a mud puddle. Dust falls down. Gravity is not a suggestion, so start at the top. Ceiling fans, light fixtures, the tops of bookshelves. Let all that dust and grime fall to the floor. Then, and only then, do you clean the floor. One pass, done. You're not cleaning the same mess twice. Work with gravity, not against it. Number 8. Parking your car. Most people pull straight into a parking spot. It feels easier, faster, and like the right thing to do. It is none of those things. You park quickly and feel smart. Then 45 minutes later, you have to leave. Now you're backing out blind into a lane full of moving cars, rogue shopping carts, and at least one person walking directly behind you, staring at their phone, completely at peace with their own mortality. Do it backwards, back into the spot when you arrive. Yes, it takes an extra 20 seconds. Yes, someone might wait behind you and sigh loudly. That's their problem, because when you leave, you just drive forward, straight out, clean, like a person who has their life together. You want to do the difficult maneuver when you arrive, fresh and alert. Save the easy part for later, when you're tired, distracted, and already mentally halfway home. Number 7. Brushing your teeth before breakfast. Most people brush their teeth after breakfast. It feels logical. Clean up the mess after you've made it. But while you were sleeping, your mouth became a bacteria festival. They multiplied all night, producing acid. By morning, your mouth is a petri dish. When you eat breakfast first, you're feeding that bacteria. The sugar and acid from your food mixes with the acid already there, and they feast on your enamel. Brushing before breakfast is like sweeping the floor before you mop. You remove the plaque and bacteria first. You also coat your teeth with a thin layer of protective fluoride. Your teeth go into breakfast with a shield on, not already under attack. If you eat something acidic like orange juice and then brush right after, you're scrubbing acid directly into your weakened enamel. It's like cleaning a scratch with sandpaper. Dentists say to wait at least 30 minutes after eating before you brush. The order that feels right is actually the worst possible order. Brush first, eat second. Number 6. Reverse impulse shopping. You're lying in bed at 11 p.m. You're tired, a little stressed, and somehow you've added $340 worth of stuff to your online cart. A weighted blanket, a pasta maker, a book you'll never read. This is not shopping. This is emotional damage with a checkout button. The entire system is designed to make you feel one click away from a better life. So do it backwards. Fill the cart. Go absolutely wild. Add everything your late-night brain desires. Then close the tab. Walk away. Do not buy anything. Come back in 24 hours. Your only job now is to remove things. The version of you that filled that cart was running on boredom and stress. The version of you that comes back the next day is a regular person who ate breakfast. And that person looks at the pasta maker and thinks, I don't even eat that much pasta. This is reverse impulse shopping. A simple waiting period dramatically reduces post-purchase regret. You're not denying yourself anything. You're just letting your future self, the one who slept and had coffee, make the final decision. Think of it like texting an ex. You write the draft at midnight, sleep on it, and delete it in the morning, feeling like you just dodged a bullet. Do not hit send at 11 p.m. Number 5. Making a to-do list. You wake up, grab a coffee, and write down 15 things you need to do. You spend the rest of the day staring at the list, feeling overwhelmed. You finish 3 things and go to bed feeling like a failure. The traditional to-do list works against your brain. Instead of writing what you need to do, write what you already did. Psychologists call this a done list. Your brain is terrible at remembering what it accomplished, but incredible at remembering what it didn't finish. That's called the Zeigarnik effect. Incomplete tasks scream for your attention, while completed ones go silent. So at the end of the day, you've actually done a lot. You just can't remember any of it. The done list fixes that. At the end of the day, write down everything you completed, even the small stuff, especially the small stuff. Replied to that email, made breakfast, unloaded the dishwasher, all wins. A to-do list shows you who you want to be. A done list shows you who you actually are. And once you know that, you can build a to-do list that fits your real life, not the imaginary one. Number 4, budgeting by saving first. Most people's savings plan is to spend money all month, then save whatever is left over. And every single month, what's left over is usually zero. Your brain treats money like a buffet. If it's on the plate, you eat it. If it's in your account, you spend it. Do it backwards. Pay yourself first. The moment your paycheck hits your account, automatically move your savings amount to a separate account. Don't wait. Don't think about it. Make it disappear before you even see it. Then you live on what's left. You can't spend what isn't there. This removes the decision. Right now, you have to actively choose to save every month, and something always comes up. With an automatic transfer, you only make the decision once. Imagine your paycheck is a pizza. Right now, you eat the whole pizza and try to save the crumbs. Instead, put 2 slices in a box for later before you even start eating. You'll still eat pizza, you'll still be full, but you'll have 2 untouchable slices saved for the future. People who do this find they don't even miss the money. They just naturally adjust their spending to fit what's available. Number 3, learning a skill by trying the hardest part first. Most people learn a new skill by starting with the easy stuff, simple chords, basic vocabulary, level 1, and they quit within a month because the progress feels microscopic and the goal feels impossibly far away. Start backwards. Try the hardest part first. Learning guitar? Try to play a mind-bending solo on day 1. You will fail so spectacularly it's almost impressive. But now, your brain has a map of the destination. It knows what the ceiling looks like. When you go back to learning a simple chord, your brain thinks it's nothing. Cognitive psychologists call this desirable difficulty. When your brain struggles hard with something first, it absorbs easier versions of that same task much faster. Learning to cook? Try making a ridiculously complex dish on day 1. You'll create a crime scene in your kitchen. But after that, learning to properly dice an onion will feel like a vacation. When you start easy, you're collecting random puzzle pieces with no picture on the box. When you start with the hardest part, you see the picture first. Every piece you learn after that has a place to go. Number 2, having a tough conversation. Most people start a difficult conversation by trying to soften the blow. Hey, so how was your day? Good? So listen, I wanted to talk about something. You know how things happen sometimes? All that buildup doesn't make the news easier to hear. It just makes the other person terrified. Psychologists call this anticipatory anxiety. When your brain knows something bad is coming but doesn't know what, it imagines the worst possible scenario. By the time you finally say, I dented the car, they've already planned your funeral. Lead with the bad news. I crashed the car. Everyone's fine. Here's what happened. Or, I'm breaking up with you. Their brain can stop inventing disasters and start dealing with the actual one. Studies show people rate conversations as less stressful when the bad news comes first. The small talk after the bomb drop feels like a relief, not a prelude to doom. So anyway, how was your day? It's completely different when the hard part is already over. Number 1, project management by scheduling the deadline first. Most people plan a project by figuring out all the steps, estimating how long they'll take, adding it all up, and then picking a deadline. It's logical, and it's why most projects finish late. Do it backwards. Pick the deadline first. Before you know a single step, point at a date on the calendar and declare, that's when we're done. This works because of something called Parkinson's Law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Give a team 6 months, a project takes 6 months. Give them 3 months, it takes 3. Give them 2 weeks, and suddenly everyone discovers their true potential. A non-negotiable deadline forces brutal prioritization. Meetings that could have been emails become emails. Features get cut. Debates get decided in minutes. This is how massive goals are achieved. Kennedy didn't say, we'll go to the moon after we figure out the timeline for inventing rockets. He said we're going by the end of a decade. The deadline came first. The innovation came second. For this to work, the deadline needs real consequences. A product launch, a client presentation, a public announcement. The moment a deadline becomes negotiable, it stops being a deadline. It becomes a suggestion, and suggestions don't get things done. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.